The Tim Heale Podcasts. Ordinary people's extraordinary stories.
Welcome to the Tim Heale Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to have a chat with William. William's going to tell us all about his life. So we're going to start off with where and when he was born, and if you can describe where you grew up, the schools you went to, and the education you received. So, William, if you can start, how you doing?
Hi, Tim. Thank you for having me on today.
You're welcome. So, let's get started. Where you were born?
Excellent. I was born in San Antonio, Texas. This is where I currently reside. My wife as well. We have moved out during my military career, but we're back here currently. Texans for life, right? You can't quite get away. Luckily, it's a big state, so you got a lot of options. But yeah, we were both born in San Antonio, Texas. The school here, back when we were kids, it's probably a lower middle class demographic, to be honest. It was kind of just ordinary education, ordinary upbringing. You know what I mean? As far as our demographic goes, and we met in high school. And Jessica got pregnant while we were still teenagers. I was 16 and she was 17.
How did that happen?
It was a surprise for us too, right?
I'll bet.
And so we found ourselves in this situation where we were struggling. You know, teen parents is a scary situation to be in, and it was hard to start making ends meet, much less finish high school, knowing we had a child on the way. And so we at this time, you know, in the scary situation, what we lacked in wealth, we had in support through our parents. A lot of love. Both of our parents were married, so we had a good, a good standard, a good example of rock solid marriages, and that's a currency that goes a long way. Jessica was able to look through programs, and actually, because we're kind of in a lower demographic area, there was a program to graduate early for people who were held back or dropped out or were expecting to become teen parents. And so I went from being someone who didn't take school seriously at all. I was an underachiever in school because I knew I wanted to join the military to some capacity, to someone who's all of a sudden extremely focused, both the two of us, on completing my education. That way I could have that taken care of. I can have that foundation to stand on, and then I could start working full time before my son was born. And so I went from being completely underachieving, underdeveloped in school, probably behind academically, even though on, paper I was ahead with my credits, to someone who graduated at 16 years old. Jessica graduated at 17. I actually graduated the month before my son was born, and started working full time from there forward, of course, to provide. Me and Jessica, we ended up getting married. She was 18 by that time. She turned 18 the month after our son was born, but I'm younger than her. And so I was 17 at the time we got married. My parents had to go to the courthouse to sign for me to get a marriage license, sign for me, and get married. It's funny because I'm in this limbo of having to be an adult, but still a kid at the same time.
I guess you're just a toy boy, were you?
Oh, man, that was my only weakness. Women are just so beautiful. But Jessica's obviously no exception. But so yeah, I'm in that position. I knew I wanted to join the military already, and I'm finished with school. So I was able to get I tried to get my parents to sign me into the Marine Corps. They weren't quite comfortable with that, but I looked at my other options. They just wanted me to have something that they were really comfortable would help me if I didn't stay in the military. Yeah. And so in the Marine Corps, you can't guarantee a job. It's obviously an excellent branch, but you can't guarantee your position. So you can't quite guarantee what you'll have under your belt when you exit the military under the Marine Corps. But I knew I wanted to be a soldier. I knew I wanted to be a boots on the ground guy. So I looked into the Army. And in the Army, you can, if your score's high enough, you get to secure what you're going to be in there. And all you have to do is go to the school for your MOS and graduate that, and you're set. And so they did sign me into the United States Army. I got to enlist as a combat medic. And so, but again, I'm not even 18, so they had to sign for me. And then I left 10 days after my 18th birthday for the military. When I was in the military, I went to basic training, Fort Benning, Georgia. Came back, actually, San Antonio, Texas, for medic school. It's a big medical city. with Sampson and whatnot. And then was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, only 2 hours north of where I grew up.
Oh,
So
that's a result then.
right. And so at this point, we haven't even really traveled much.
So this was so you joined the military, and that was in place of going to university.
Yes, initially, yes, sir.
So where was your basic training?
Fort Benning, Georgia. That's where all combat arms related MOSs go. As a medic, you can be put in any of the four, or at least three of the four. One's kind of specializes for military police, but three of the four locations they have in the Army for training. But yeah, I got to go to Fort Benning, Georgia, which is kind of a good start, to be honest. It's a little bit more of a intense basic training to get put under. And so, I was happy with that result. Then I got stationed, of course, Fort Hood, Texas. So at this point, we hadn't even really traveled much. We're, our parents didn't really take it. They took me out of state a couple times to get vehicles for my dad would get work trucks and whatnot, work-related stuff. But Jessica never left the state. I'd never flown on a plane till basic training. And she didn't fly on a plane until she was going to see me graduate at basic training. While I was in the military, I learned that I really liked the medical field. Neither one of my parents were in the medical field, so I didn't really know what to expect. But I didn't think I was going to stay in the military. So I started working on my exit plan to what I would do when I was out. I started working on an associate's degree going to school online. You kind of have to go to school online just because, I was volunteering for deployment and stuff. I knew it was coming. Yeah. And so I did start to push and further my education at that point. I volunteered for 3 deployments. It was hard for me to get put on one because I was on a DSURF unit. It's like a chemical reaction response team for like disasters and things like that.
So you were like on what we call an NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical warfare.
Yeah, we would do a lot of training in suits with non-rebreathers and stuff like that. That way we could react. So it was hard to get put. Actually, when you're on a unit like that, it's actually hard to get taken off that unit. So it was hard for me to get a deployment. Finally, I got one after the third one I volunteered for. And it was I had to go leave my unit, go to a new unit. It was all they told us was, hey, you're going to go back into Iraq. You don't really have time to think about it. We don't know the exact day you'll leave, but it'll be in less than 30 days. And so I got to deploy, came back from that. And then when I worked on my education the entire time, of course, it's pain in the butt waking up 3 a.m. to attend, listen to professor talk. But I exited the military with a associate's degree in health sciences. And so here I go from being, a teen parent, graduating early, kind of in like a gray area as far as my actual education level to, a college graduate. But when I got out of the military, I realized that I was going to need a bachelor's degree to pursue what I wanted to do, which is health administration. And so I get out and I don't really have a real job. I'm going to school using my GI Bill and you get a little bit of money for rent, and I'm doing private jobs here and there.
Hang on there.
Yes.
So we've gone from moving to a unit, a quick deployment to Iraq, and now you left the military.
Yep. Well, the deployment was.
I think we need to go back a little bit and explore a little bit more. So take me back to your basic training in Georgia.
Sure.
So how was basic training for a U.S. Army guy?
Yeah.
How does training start? How do you get fit for it? What was your build up before going to Fort Benning?
Yeah, so I knew I was going to join the military. I probably decided when I was like 14. And so while I played sports, everything was kind of geared towards a military career. I quit doing football and I started doing cross country and track. I started doing boxing, going to this Army veteran who was he was a Golden Gloves boxer and stuff. And so he started training me in boxing and then in military fitness. And so he had me running different kinds of, different kinds of cross-country events and stuff like that, and a lot of CrossFit exercise. And I actually started training martial arts and stuff. So everything got geared towards joining the military. I was learning customs and courtesies. I was learning, all the military demographics you need, like military time, phonetic alphabet, things like that. And back then, they actually had a great program called the Future Soldier Program. So an ordinary guy like me with no ROTC or anything could do a certain amount of courses, help with recruiting duty, and actually get promoted before you even step foot into the Army. And so I actually was able to rank up twice. I went from just private PV1 to PV2 to private first class before I even went to basic training. So it got put on my contract, and as soon as I started basic training, I started as a private first class, even though I had no college and no ROTC. So that was an excellent program.
How does that kind of work? I mean, I guess a private first class is kind of a senior soldier.
Well, it's still
is that
pretty low.
kind of all to do with the way that you say in the UK we have what we call army cadets, but we have Navy cadets as well, sea cadets we call them, and the Air Force cadets. So, but they all join round about sort of 12, 13 age group, and then they can go through that until they're 18.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give them any special privileges when they go to into training, but it does give them that head start where others coming straight in from school, say, that haven't been through the cadets. It's a slightly less steep learning curve for them because they've already learned it. So is that kind of the same with this early soldier scheme?
Yes. So we have ROTC, which is a program, where the military helps train people. And depending on what you're going through with the ROTC program, you can, if you're going to be enlisted or if you're going to be, as an officer. So if you're going to be enlisted and you complete the ROTC program, usually you start as a specialist who's an E4 on the ladder. If you go through ROTC and you actually go into college with ROTC, you actually can start as a lieutenant, and you get promoted rather quickly from there. And so this was like a blue collar version of that because there's no ROTC at my school. There's just no program available to me. But through the recruiting station, you can show up at the recruiting station, do all these courses online, help the recruiters recruit other people. You're serving the military before you even go into the military. You don't get any pay out of it. You're just getting a promise that if you complete these steps, you will increase your contract before you start. And so I was actually able to increase my contract and start as a private first class, which is an E3. You still go through the same training. It's not like anyone standing at parade rest for you or saluting you, but your pay scale just went up a little. And then you're starting on a better foundation for when you start the military.
Gotcha. So it just gives that little bit of a head start. You're doing exactly the same training, but you're finding it, I guess, a little bit easier than the guy that's coming straight in off the street.
Exactly. I put time into the military before I was
makes a lot of sense.
Yes. I put time in the military before I was even under contract. You know what I mean? And so you do these things on paper. Now they've altered the future soldier program. I don't think it works quite the same way now. I think you can start as an E2, but not an E3. I'm not entirely sure. Like we were discussing earlier, it's weird to say, but I've been out for 6 years. So I've been out of the Army longer than I was ever in the Army. And so I'm sure there's plenty of changes now.
So how many years did you actually serve in the military?
I was in the Army from 2012 to 2016, so a 4-year contract. That's the standard contract. Some jobs require a little bit more, and there's still a few jobs, at least when I was in, where you could do 2- and 3-year contracts. But yeah, the standard one's 4-year contract, and that's what I did.
Yeah, we kind of get that in the UK military. We get guys come in, they join up for say, oh, hang on, didn't want to do that. We get guys join up for 4 years. They go do an operational tour, and they come back and they leave. And that's the way it kind of goes in a lot of stuff, because these guys just are out to do an operational tour, get a medal, and then it gives them a big hand up in civilian life, because the skills that they learn in the military, they can transfer then over into their life outside the military, and they're able to do a lot more. They're a lot more employable because they've had that experience. they've got some combat experience. They've been and done the deployment, so it makes them more employable.
Absolutely. I think the foundation that the military gives you is excellent. You know what I mean? Especially for people who are coming from somewhere where maybe they didn't have a disciplined background, or maybe they didn't have they didn't come from a household where they had to be held accountable, you know what I mean? Or things like that. I think it gives people a great foundation, especially here in the States. There's a lot of incentive, especially for people like me, who are, you know, not coming from wealth or not coming from a high education or anything like that, anything distinguished. It really gave me and my family a great platform and great foundation to start from.
Brilliant. So, where did you actually go? What did they, what was your deployment? So you're in this NBC unit. You fought really hard to get out of it to go on a deployment. And so you went to Iraq?
Well, I volunteered for Iraq, but actually we deployed over. So we left in less than 30 days. Wife was not happy about it, but I had to do it. I joined the military to be a soldier, you know what I mean? And deploying is part of that. It was something I felt called to do. And so we land in Kuwait because we didn't have passports or anything. It was such a rapid deployment. They're like, we're going to take you from one military installation to another military installation. That way we can skip the whole, you know, the whole passport process and everything else. They land us in Kuwait and we get there. And at the time, man, I can't remember the exact thing. It was covered all over the news. There was a bunch of hostages up on a giant mountaintop, right? ISIS had them all held up there. And they were telling us, we're going to let special forces do an operation. They're going to do a helicopter operation to get them off. Depending on how it goes, depends where we're going to send you in Iraq. We're just waiting to see how it goes. Well, SF did the operation and they nailed it. They didn't have any problems at all. They got everyone out of there, thankfully. So we're still in Kuwait. Then the word was, okay, well, ISIS has captured a dam that controls a power plant. We're going to, special forces are going to do an operation. And then depending on how that goes, we're going to see where we put y'all into Iraq. They're really trying to be careful. The president was with what the BOG limit was, boots on the ground. They're trying to keep it very precise to not just overfloat with soldiers again because of policy. You know what I mean? And so special forces does the operation on the dam. They nail it. They retake the dam, super low casualty rate. Again, my medical unit wasn't because that's what I was part of now, a giant medical unit.
Yeah.
They weren't needed for the operation, which is good. Then another mission came up and they're like, okay, we're gonna see how this goes and we're gonna plug y'all in from there. Special forces nailed it again. So we keep getting our field goal for when we're gonna go in Iraq pushed back, which, you know, in reflection, there's a lot of positives too for me. But the whole reason I joined was I volunteered for that. So at the time, you're just kind of like, come on, like I want to get in there. And so after that, after they took care of all three major things that we were there to cover them for, we kind of realized that in a good way, we were almost overkill, you know, having our giant medical unit there. And so what they did was they started plugging people into different parts all over the Middle East. Some of us got sent to Afghanistan. Some of us got sent into different places like Erbil in Iraq and stuff, you know what I mean? Like Baghdad. They just plugged our unit in places. And I got plugged into training a bunch of different units in Kuwait. So I was at Camp Berry in Kuwait. It's 10 miles off the Iraq border. The only time they took me to Iraq, I got to do a training mission with flight medics for dust off, and they flew me over the Iraq border in helicopters as part of the training mission. Then we came back. But I mostly got to train.
For a medal?
What's that?
Did that qualify you for the medal?
No, it didn't. Unfortunately, I did not get a combat patch for that. I didn't get anything, but, you know, I have to be grateful that nothing happened that made me get a medal for that. But I got to do a lot of training.
The last medal that you want to get is a Purple Heart, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Much respect to all Purple Heart recipients out there, but there's a lot of positivities to not getting, or positive aspects to not getting one at the same time. So I got to train a lot. I got to train with the Kuwaiti Army. I got to train with different units from the Indian Army. We got to train with Navy SEALs. We got to train with the Air Force Special Forces. We got to do a lot of awesome training missions on the Persian Gulf, in the desert of Kuwait, a bunch of different things. So it was great. I was pretty ahead as a medic. And so it was a great opportunity to get to help train a bunch of other frontline soldiers, you know what I mean, Marine infantry, whole bunch of different units, in increasing their medic skills. That way, if they did find themselves in a situation, they'd be more proficient. So that's pretty much what my time equated to. The best moments of it was, you know, training other units to for wherever they were going to be plugged in later on. And then different people got different experiences based off where they got stationed.
So what rank were you at this time? Obviously, you must have moved on from being a PFC.
I did. So I started as a PFC, and then I got early promoted. Usually, you have to wait till you hit your 2-year mark to be able to qualify for specialist, and I actually hit it at 18 months. I got waived to get promoted 6 months early. But before I became a specialist, I realized that I wasn't going to make a career out of the military. I just realized that I was going to want to be independent from the military after I finished my contract. So I pushed pretty hard to start off as a PFC, and then I pushed really hard to get early promotion as a specialist. But then from there, I focused on things like my education. You know what I mean? That's why I was still going to school 3 a.m. on deployment and stuff, because I knew I was going to exit. And so I made it to specialist, but I never tried to go to the board to get promoted to be a non-commissioned officer, to go into being a sergeant and stuff, because I just knew the direction I was going to head in life. So I got early promoted as specialist, and then I remained specialist for the rest of my career. And you're allowed to be a specialist for 8 years if you join. But I was a specialist for the rest of my career. I exited as a specialist as well.
Okay, so you got as far as specialist, and you retired in 2016?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I got back from deployment 2015, and then I literally had 1 year left. I got back in May, and then I was going to finish my contract in May of 2016.
So what did you do with that last period of time? Were you allowed to do resettlement? Did you continue with education, gaining the experience, getting the qualifications you needed for outside?
So the United States Army actually has a really good exit program. It's called ACAPing, and it's to help you, transition back into the civilian world, because the mission is to not have homeless veterans out there. You do this service, and you get all this discipline and all this accountability instilled in you, and the last thing they want is for you to get out, and now, you know what I mean, you're less successful after the military. So they had a good ACAP program. So that's when I actually finished my associate's degree. And then that's when I also got to go to this course called Shifting Gears. It's sponsored by the military. It's almost like college. You show up there and work there all day long. And I got to leave with a certification as a General Motors service technician. And I actually had a job secured to start as a technician working on vehicles and stuff with that certification while I worked on my bachelor's degree in the medical field. But actually, I kind of had a family situation come up right before, like literally the week before I was leaving the military. I have a job set up, you know what I mean? Like everything is ready to go. And the family situation comes up with my extended family, where the deal is I'm going to start helping my parents get all their properties and, everything managed and turn it towards making profits. My parents, they're just high school graduates, no extended education, just hardworking folks. And through hard work and discipline, they were able to save up, get a rental property, you know what I mean, build that into another rental property, start owning real estate and stuff, and start having their own way to have a retirement plan and, a passive income and stuff. And they had all this, but because they're both working, my mom volunteers full time, and my dad obviously has to work full time to make the money to do these things. They just needed someone to help get all their assets kind of on track, or at least keep it in the, a positive trending direction. And so after discussing with them, I went from going to be a service tech to, managing their properties. And they were paying me for it. But the only issue is it's easy to get complacent when you're in charge of yourself. And so I exit the military and I have all these big plans, how I'm going to do so much, so many big things, and how I'm just going to rule the world and be making, all this money in no time. And I after almost a year goes by, and I find myself kind of stagnant. I didn't realize it, but passively, I was doing less and less. I wasn't doing as much work on the properties were going in the right direction, so I just, didn't have to do very much. I wasn't putting in very much hours. I still don't have an actual job. You know what I mean? I'm going to school, but like I'm doing the minimum amount of classes because the first university I tried to transfer to wouldn't accept my military credits, so I couldn't go in-house to college. So I just had to start going online again. So I find myself in a place where a lot of veterans do, just kind of lost and without purpose. You know what I mean? And this is kind of where me and Jessica's story actually begins. Jessica was also working towards being, she thought she wanted to be in the veterinary field her whole life. That's where a lot of her family is and stuff. And she loves animals. And she starts on that path as soon as we get out and realizes she doesn't want to do that. You know what I mean? She thought she did, but she didn't. And so she goes to a short trade school to become a phlebotomist, so she can draw blood and take labs and stuff. And she completes that, and she interviews for a job. She's got to start in 2 weeks, and so she quits the job she has. So here we both are kind of in limbo in life. I'm just doing odd jobs here and there, because my bills are this much, I'll work this much. And we were I was on a job where I was building a fence line for a ranch, big fence line for the back of this big ranch. And Jessica was with me because she doesn't have a job. She's got to start her next job in 2 weeks. And she's working with me as I'm doing this task. And I finish up. It was literally the last day. I went and I finished everything, and I stand up from putting the last staple in the fence post to tighten up the barbed wire fence. And I look around, and I just it hit me that I'm not doing anything with my life at this point. I'm stagnant, and I want to make a change. I want to do something. And so I look around, and I look at her, and I'm like, man, let's do something. Let's go somewhere. And she didn't know what I was talking about. So she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know. Let's do something. I feel like I need to do something big. I feel like I need to make a big change in my life. And she was like, you want to go to the coast? Because, here in Texas, we're close to the water, much like you are. And so it's very common for people to go down to the coast a couple times a year, for a couple of weekends. And I was like, no, I want to do something different. I want to do something bigger. Let's go somewhere. Let's go somewhere big. Let's go, I don't know. Let's go to California. And she was like, California? How are we going to do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never traveled out of state myself. I've never done anything. I've only flown on a plane for the military. And California, is I don't know, probably close to 1,000 miles away. I have to look at a map right now, but I was like, let's go to California. And she's like, how are we gonna do that? I don't know. We can rent a car, it's west. We just got to head west till we hit the water. And it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy as it's coming out of my mouth. It wasn't premeditated. If you would have told me the day before I was going to start this crazy journey, I would have said, you're crazy. I'm going to go fix a barbed wire fence tomorrow, and then I'm going to, go to MMA class or something. Yeah. And she's like, how are we going to do that? I was like, oh no, we'll rent a car. And she's like, well, what are we don't have any money. How's that going to work? I was like, we got credit cards. Let's just make it happen. Let's do something. Let's do something big. And so we start Googling on our used lousy iPhones with terrible service. We're looking up the cheapest place to rent a car. We're calling my mom to see if she'll watch Colt because he's got school. We haven't planned, for him. We haven't planned this at all. This is the last minute. If not, he's going to be riding up there with us, but she's a great grandma. She said she'll watch him. And so we're literally packing up. We pack up, no plan. All we know is we're headed west, and we leave that night. We just take off west towards California. And we didn't know it, but this was the change, a huge step that was going to change our lives forever. And it all began right there, from being a veteran lost with no direction to heading west last minute.
Wow. So you've left your boy with your mum, and you've taken off like a couple of scolded cats heading for California.
Yep.
Well, you're gonna look at going into the movies or something, or you're just gonna end up waiting in a bar.
Right, and we didn't know. The Hollingworths could end up in Hollywood for all we know. We had no plan. The only direction was west, and we start heading towards California in this rental car with our used phones, barely packed, barely knowing what's going on. And as we're headed west, we're asking these questions out loud because it's all sinking in. And what are we going to do? How much money are we going to spend? When are we coming back? We're just like, what are we going to see? And Jessica's like, I don't know, but I'm hungry. Let's get some food. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to be out of Texas, so let's stop at Whataburger. Whataburger is like how McDonald's is a famous international franchise. Whataburger is up till recently, a Texas exclusive franchise. Texans love it, but and we won't shut up about it. But at that time, it was mostly Texas exclusive. So anyways, when I said it, it clicked. Whataburger, we're getting it because we're about to leave the state. It's, it is exclusive to our state. That means there's probably something exclusive to every state. So we should stop in every state. And, we could stop in every state and be part of this exclusive culture. And then it occurred to me, well, if we're going to stop in every state for something to do with food, we should stop in every state for an actual stop to actually see something, experience something. So all of a sudden we go from having no plan to formulating, okay, we're headed to California. Where are we going to go through? We're going to go through New Mexico, Arizona, into California. So that means we can make a Roswell, New Mexico, Tombstone, Arizona, up into California. Wow. Suddenly we have a little bit of a plan. We have, a stop for experience and then a stop for a food franchise in each state. And then I'm like, well, instead of coming back the same way, what if we went north when we hit California and come back a totally different, a different route? And we would double our experiences. We double our states. We double everything. And so now it goes, through Tombstone, Arizona, into Los Angeles, California, where you have Hollywood and everything else, up north, all the way into San Francisco. You see the Winchester Mansion, you get to San Francisco, you get to see Alcatraz, you get to see the Golden Gate Bridge, all these great things. And we'll head east from there into Nevada. There's, of course, Las Vegas and Nevada, but we're broke, so that's the last thing we need. But into Utah and up into the mountains, and then coming back, through the Grand Canyon, through Colorado, four points where the 4 states connect, and then returning to Texas. And we formulate this plan, and on the way, we're gaining all these experiences. We're gaining all this culture. We're gaining all these interactions, meeting people. We're reuniting with military families that I was stationed with because they're out, and I'm reaching out to people that are in different states along the way. And when we get back from this incredible trip where we see all these incredible things, we're like totally different people. We went from completely lost with no sense, not really a sense of purpose, never traveled before other than where the military's flown me, to all of a sudden this great wealth of interactions all within a week's time. And when we get back, we're like, my goodness, that was life-changing. All of a sudden, we're a lot more focused, we're a lot more cultured, and the first thing we realized was we have to do this again. Absolutely, we have to do this again, and we have to do this a different way, into different states. And the first time we did it, no one really, outside of our closest family and our closest friends, no one really liked the idea. They thought it was crazy. No, don't do that again. Maybe fly somewhere, stay there for a week. Like that's insane. But it's almost like when you leave for the military and you enter into basic training or a deployment, while the outside world hasn't changed a whole lot because, the 10 weeks of a basic training and the 9 months of a deployment isn't that long of a time frame for people, in their daily lives. For the person experiencing the deployment or whatever it is, it's a lifetime. You come back with a lifetime of experiences, and it's something that changes you forever. It's like you've been in a time capsule and you've stepped out. And so these trips were, without us knowing, a complete replica of that experience. We came back with just a total different lifetime of interactions, all within this week's time. We couldn't express it enough. So that was our first trip. And
so how long did it take you on that first trip? How long were you away for?
1 week.
You left
only 1 week.
And
it was like 4,000 something miles. On our Instagram page, we have every map posted also in the book. Every map's there with the exact routes, all the stops, how many miles, how many days, how much money we spent. It's all logged in that. And that first trip was just 1 week, but it changed us so much. As soon as we got back. What's that?
You took a whole year?
No, a week. Just 1 week to do all that.
A week?
That whole trip was 1 week. And it changed us so much. That when we got back, our focus was completely changed. We have to get our careers in order. We have to get things lined up because we want to do this again and we want to make it bigger. You know what I mean? It changed our whole outlook. And
Well,
so, go ahead.
4,000 miles in a week.
Yeah, crazy. It actually wasn't
I'm
a full week.
I'm surprised you got any sleep at all.
I know, and that was one thing. That was a huge miscalculation on the first one. We barely slept. We were mostly just alternating in and out, but we were still loving the experiences. But it was physically very hard. You know what I mean? And so these are things you see it. You see our first trip is completely shooting from the hip, unstrategized, no money. To the second trip, we have some money saved up. It's a lot more focused. You know what I mean? We get a lot more rest time. The third trip, we have the whole budget saved up, and it barely rushed. And then when we did the fourth trip, we saved more than we ended up spending, like way over the budget. It was the biggest trip yet. No rush at all. We even finished early. You see how we mature as people in each trip, in between each trip, how it changes our focus and our drive. So we get back, and now we're totally different people in interactions and stories. You know, when we're talking to different folks, and we get better jobs. Jessica, of course, starts her job in the medical field, super focused. I end up getting a job back in the medical field and really stepping hard on my degree. It changes the way we save money, the way we think, you know what I mean? The way we push towards goals, because now we're driven towards something. And in the beginning, no one really, outside of closest family friend, really liked it. But going into the second trip, all we could tell people was like, we're going to do it again, and it's going to be bigger next time. Like, trust us. This is something amazing. Like, maybe it's not a perfect fit for everybody, but for a lot of folks, I believe in it. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me since saying that, you know, it's impacted them as well. And so the second trip is huge. It's all the way up from Texas, northeast into Canada, Portland, Maine, which is the very tip of the United States, and then back. It's like a 20-something state drive. And yeah, but we're better this time. You know what I mean? We have a better rental vehicle. Colt's with us this time. We don't have the full budget, but we have a lot of the budget saved. And we do more trips. We see more. We stop in every state. We get more experiences. We go to New York City. We go to Niagara Falls. We go into Canada. So we actually go into another country. You know what I mean? I finished my bachelor's degree on the trip. I sit on a rock at Portland, Maine, and I put the laptop on a rock, and I typed up my final essay, and I finished my bachelor's degree. Like, it's shifting everything in our lives. It's making a huge impact. And we actually ended up breaking down the entire United States into 4 different trips, 1 trip each year. That way, you know, you have time to do things. And we're doing a lot of mini vacations. We're going to a whole bunch of miniature experiences, Big Bend National Park, Mexico, NASA Space Command Center. And it just compounds into this thing that was bigger than we ever imagined.
So did you actually sit down after the first one? Did you actually sit down and plan your route out, plan where you were going to go and see for the subsequent trips, or
we did
on the fly again?
No. We did. And you see the maturing of us as people and as travelers, and as, you know, in our professional careers as well, with each trip, how we calculate for it better, and we calibrate it for it a little better each time. By the fourth one, so after the first trip, we actually planned the second one with, you know, much more purpose. The best formula for that is you plan your farthest destination. For the first trip, we just knew it was California. And luckily, we were able to plan everything from there on the way. The second trip, we knew it was Portland, Maine. So we planned our route up into Portland, Maine, with an alternate route coming back. That way, you know, we could clear as many states as possible. The third trip, you know, we both have way better jobs. We're both in supervisor positions in the medical field. We can actually budget. It's for Florida. So we go east into the Carolinas and then down into Florida and back. You can then go to Orlando and stuff, you know, the Billy Graham Library, Myrtle Beach, all these great big locations in the United States in return.
Now, did you do Harry Potter World?
No, we didn't.
Kind of missed out there then.
I know. So the objective of the original road trips were to experience the states in as fast of a, you know, kind of like compilation as possible. And so we would have a stop in every state for food and for, you know, an actual experience. But it was all pretty rapid fire as we were building this resume. We didn't have anything to go off of. This was just a passion. You know what I mean? We didn't have any kind of guide or map or anything really to really give us guidance. We were just going off of what we were passionate about. And so while we got to experience something in every state, we never really sat down in a state and spent an extended period of time there. That's where the it's evolved now. Now we're doing more focused trips, but in the beginning, what the book was about was us accomplishing this giant endeavor to travel the entire connected 48 United States, because of course Alaska and Hawaii, aren't directly connected, in 4 years. So each year we were doing a different trip, and then after the second trip, people started taking it seriously. People were like, "Wow, that's kind of cool. It's not really for me, but that's actually a little impressive." Then after the third trip, people are rooting for us now. People are talking about us. We would go to events like work parties and family events, and people will be like, "These are the couple I was telling you about. They're travelers, like the professional travelers." And we're like, "Well, not really. We're just, knuckleheads doing the best we can, but thank you. We're trying." And people are like, "Well, where are you going next?" If they're about to go on a trip, they're asking us for advice, and people are cheering for us to finish the United States. And so when we get back, we plan for the fourth trip. The fourth trip is north up into like Illinois, west through Montana, all the way into Washington, and then back a different route to finish the connected United States. And at the time we were doing this, we weren't planning on writing a book or having any kind of platform. Jessica would post some stuff, but like for the most part, we would just talk about it. We'd take pictures and talk about it. You know what I mean? There was nothing. It was just passion. There's like no bigger goal in mind outside of that. And it was on the way back from the fourth trip that I just felt like something wasn't. There's more to it. Like, we're finished. I can't believe we're doing this. We're finishing the United States. Like, I don't know anyone that's done that personally. Now I do, because the network's grown so big. But at the time, just two teen parents coming out of a poor spot out of Southeast San Antonio, no one I knew was doing stuff like this, and I didn't have any guidance. We were just doing the best we could. And on the way back from the last trip, I was like, I just feel like this could be something that could reach people. This could be something that could help people travel and drive their own dreams. Maybe not this exactly, but at least to an extent that means something to them. And that's when I was like, what should this be? Should this be a podcast? Should it be, should it be a book, or sorry, a blog? Should it just be a social media page? And it occurred to me, it could be a book. I always loved writing, but I didn't know what to write about. And I was like, we just did something actually pretty cool. So, I can't believe it. This is actually something pretty cool that a lot of people might want to know about. And so it became the book, All 48, Drive Your Dreams. And with that, it became a book and a social media platform that's just exploded and reached so many places. We're in plenty of local libraries. We've been on the honor wall of free little libraries. We're reaching people internationally. We're donating to schools and just trying to help people drive their own dreams, help people to whatever capacity, whether it's, remodeling your kitchen with your loved one, or driving the whole United States, or becoming world travelers, or making that one trip that means you've always wanted to do. That's all we're passionate about. And we've been pushing that we've won book awards. We've been pushing that to such a degree to help people from all demographics, all walks of life, drive their dreams of their own.
So with your book then, are you able to go around and do talks? Do you give a presentation on what you've done, or is it just sort of promoting the book and on the blog page?
So the book is actually pretty fresh. It's only been in print for probably 3 or 4 months. And it's been digital for maybe 6 months now. It's pretty fresh. It's something I would like to do. Like I said, we've donated to a bunch of different libraries. We've sent them out to a bunch of different locations. We actually just mailed out a couple of books yesterday to people free. We do free books for podcasts. So speaking of which, people who reach out to me saying they're from the Tim Heale podcast, I'll give the first 3 people free books. All you got to do is provide me a address you're comfortable sharing, and I'll ship it to you for free. You don't got to pay shipping. You don't got to pay anything. I'll just send it to you as a thank you for having me on today. But I would love to do stuff like that. Right now, we're working to get into the schools me and Jessica graduated from, and possibly give a talk there to the young, soon-to-be adults, to help them pursue their own goals, drive their own dreams. Let people know, no matter where you come from, no matter what your situation is, you're not finished. You can do whatever you set your mind to. And like I said, to any capacity. And so that's been the mission the whole time. We're still traveling. We're still doing big events. We have Disney World actually next week. That's, as we were discussing earlier before the show, we're going to be there for an extended period of time. Now we're flying out to places and we're actually spending focused amounts of time there now that we've driven the whole United States, and we're taking people on travels. We took a couple to the Houston Space Center. We've taken people to different beaches here in Texas, different river resorts. We've been sponsoring different trips for different folks, and or linking up with people that just want guides. You know what I mean? And we're not charging anything. We're not a travel agency. It's literally just pure passion. The only thing to be bought is the book. You don't have to buy it. You can go to our Instagram page, All 48 and Beyond, and all the maps, all the stops, all the budgets, everything's there. We'd love for you to connect with us. Just reach out and we'll help you with whatever we can.
Have you thought about doing it as an Audible book?
I have, but I probably have to get someone like you with a nice accent to do it for me, because I don't think people want to hear me talk. But it might throw people off if it's a British narrator talking about driving the United States. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to have to workshop it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find a really good voiceover guy to do it with an American accent.
Yeah, probably not a Texan accent, right? Like, I don't think that's the ideal Audible book. But I have, like I said, the book's fairly fresh, and profits aren't really the goal. It's mostly just networking. So I do think an Audible book would be good for that. It's just it just has to fit in with the budget with other things. You know what I mean? Because we didn't want to halt our travels too much.
Yeah.
And we poured quite a bit of money into the initial book campaign, which helped it get as big as it is now. But yeah, that would definitely, just reaching people would be the ultimate thing. And it's thanks to awesome folks like you with great podcasts that give us a platform to do so. So thank you for having me on.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. So I think we can wrap that up. I think you've had quite an interesting life there.
Thank you. And not to sorry to burn through the military career so fast, but I wanted to get to the travel so bad. It's the passion that we have now. It's the big goal. We want to help everyone out there drive their own dreams.
Yeah. So where do you go from this with the travels? Are you going to expand it out to new countries, to new areas of the world, or just concentrate on still building America?
Absolutely. And great question, by the way. So we want to do both those things. What kind of puts the logistics of timelines for now is Colt's age. So Colt missed out on the very first trip to California. So while me and Jessica are at all 48 states, Colt's at like 39 or 40. So he still holds that against us. But his age is kind of what calculates what we do right now and dictates how we do our future travels. So that's why Disney World, he's 10. And so that's why Disney World is the next one on the agenda, something we always want to do. And I think he's in that perfect window where he can do everything at Disney World, but he's still young enough to want to hang out with his parents, you know? And so
yeah, soon wears off.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's coming. And so then, and like we're still doing tons of local trips. We're probably doing a local or like an in-state trip twice a month. We have shark fishing coming up next month. And so we get back from Disney World, then we go shark fishing down in the Gulf. But the trip after Disney World, the big one's going to be an Alaskan cruise. So that's great. He'll be, 11 by that time. So he'll be a little more independent. He'll be able to go on the cruise. But at least we'll be in a location where, he can't really escape us on the cruise. And that'll add a state to our belt. And then after that, we would like to do Hawaii, of course. That way we finish the 50 states. And by that time, he'll be 12 probably. And so, he'll be more independent, you know what I mean? But still, I guess he'll hang out with us somewhat. And then from there, we'd really like to go international. And he'll completely dependent. We'd really I've been to Germany, obviously Kuwait, flown over Iraq. I've been to Brazil twice, Mexico. But we'd really like to go to England. Like we were discussing earlier, that's where my the Hollingworth name comes from. You know what I mean? That's my heritage. And so that's a big one for us. England, then up north into Ireland. Thailand would be a cool one. So we do have international trips planned, but it's all kind of lines up with Colt's age along the way. So,
just tying him in at the right time. I suppose then you're restricted to when the school holidays and stuff are. So, summer holidays, you get sort of 6 weeks.
One positive thing is with all the bad things from, that stemmed from COVID and the pandemic and whatnot, distance learning has really advanced. So like how we're doing Disney World this week, he's not technically on break, but because distance learning has accelerated so much, he's able to, you know what I mean, attend school still. He'll still be able to get his work and submit it online and everything like that. So that's one thing that's actually freed us up. While some places are restricted and locked down from travel, it's freed up aspects like education where we can do education on the go. You know what I mean? And so like there's one blessing we can take from it, one silver lining.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I can only wish you all the very best for the future. And when you do come to England, there was a guy I worked with a little while ago. He's in one of the Foot Guards bands named Hollingworth. So
really,
maybe it's related.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I hope he's not disappointed with the riff-raff from America.
It's probably worth investigating before you come over. Ancestry.
Right. I was gonna say I have a 23andMe. We'll have to see which one he's on.
Yeah. So it's probably worth trying to track him down.
Awesome. Well, I'll be sure to mention you.
All right, William. I think that's been a really, really good chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim,
for sharing your story.
The Tim Heale Podcasts. Ordinary people's extraordinary stories.